Ever wondered what happens when absolute power falls into the hands of the unhinged? In this gripping video, we uncover the dark, twisted reigns of three of Rome's most infamous emperors as we explore their chaotic early lives, their deranged rulership, and the gruesome details of their downfalls. Who are they? Nero, Commodus, and Caligula, and a dishonorable mention of a fourth emperor at the end of this video. Can you guess who that might be? First, Nero, 37 AD to 68 AD. Our first descent into madness begins with Nero, the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. His upbringing and early life. Nero was born Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus on December 15, 37 AD, into a tumultuous and ambitious family. His father, Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus, was a wealthy and powerful Roman aristocrat, but notorious for his cruelty and corruption. Nero's mother, Agrippina the Younger, was the sister of Emperor Caligula and a key player in the Roman political arena. Nero's early life was marked by tragedy and manipulation when his father died when he was just 3 years old, leaving him under the care of his mother. Agrippina was exiled by her brother Caligula, leaving Nero in the care of his aunt, Domitia Lepida. His childhood was spent in a toxic environment filled with political intrigue, murder, and betrayal. Agrippina's fortunes changed when she married her uncle, Emperor Claudius, in 49 AD, setting the stage for Nero's rise. But Nero was no ordinary child. Even before he seized power, there were signs of the inner darkness that would consume him. She convinced Claudius to adopt Nero, positioning him as the heir to the throne over Claudius's own biological son, Britannicus. To ensure Nero's path to power, Agrippina ruthlessly eliminated any potential threats, including poisoning Claudius in 54 AD, paving the way for 16-year-old Nero to ascend the throne. Acts of cruelty and craziness. Let's start with the Great Fire of Rome, 64 AD. Perhaps the most infamous act associated with Nero is his alleged role in the Great Fire of Rome. The fire ravaged the city for 6 days, destroying large sections of Rome. While historians debate the exact cause of the fire, many believe Nero was responsible, either directly or indirectly. According to some historical accounts, Nero watched the city burn from his palace, playing the lyre and singing about the fall of Troy. Nevertheless, after the fire, Nero seized the opportunity to build a massive palace, the Domus Aurea, on the cleared land. To deflect blame, Nero accused Christians of starting the fire, leading to one of the first major persecutions of Christians in the Roman Empire. Murder of family members. Nero's paranoia led him to commit several heinous acts, including the murder of his own family members. He had his mother, Agrippina, killed in 59 AD after she began to question his decisions. He arranged for her to be drowned at sea, but when she survived the assassination attempt, she was stabbed to death by Nero's soldiers. Nero also murdered his first wife, Octavia, in 62 AD, and later his second wife, Poppaea Sabina, by kicking her to death while she was pregnant. Persecution of Christians. Nero's reign is marked by his brutal persecution of Christians following the Great Fire. Christians were arrested, tortured, and executed in gruesome ways, crucified, burned alive, or torn apart by wild animals. Nero would use the burning bodies of Christians as torches to light his gardens at night. His death. Nero's reign became increasingly unstable as his paranoia grew and his grip on power weakened. In 68 AD, after a series of revolts and the defection of the Praetorian Guard, Nero fled Rome. Facing capture and execution, he chose to take his own life. With the assistance of a loyal servant, he stabbed himself in the throat. His final words were reportedly, "What an artist dies in me." With Nero's death, the Julio-Claudian dynasty came to an end, and Rome was plunged into a brief period of civil war known as the Year of the Four Emperors. Second, Commodus, 161 AD, 192 AD. Next, we venture into the world of Commodus, his upbringing and early life. Commodus was born on August 31st, 161 AD, as the son of the revered Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher-king who embodied the ideals of Stoicism and ruled Rome during a period of relative stability. Commodus had every opportunity to be a wise and just ruler, but instead he chose the path of excess and delusion. From a young age, Commodus was groomed to succeed his father, being granted the title of Caesar at the age of 5. Despite his father's efforts to instill Stoic values in him, Commodus showed little interest in philosophy or governance. He was more inclined towards indulgence, pleasure, and the spectacle of the gladiatorial games. Obsessed with his own image, Commodus fancied himself a gladiator, often descending into the Colosseum to fight rigged battles to ensure his victory. As the favored son, Commodus was given every advantage, but his privileged upbringing led to a sense of entitlement and a disconnect from the responsibilities of ruling. When Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, Commodus, at just 19 years old, ascended to the throne, becoming the first emperor born in the purple, meaning he was born during his father's reign. Acts of cruelty and craziness, his gladiatorial obsession. Unlike his father, who was known for his wisdom and military prowess, Commodus was obsessed with gladiatorial combat. He would often participate in the games himself, fighting in the Colosseum against opponents who were usually armed with blunt weapons or were otherwise incapacitated to ensure his victory. Commodus fancied himself a reincarnation of Hercules, even appearing in public dressed as the mythical hero. His gladiatorial antics were seen as highly inappropriate for an emperor and alienated the Roman elite, renaming Rome. In his delusions of grandeur, Commodus renamed Rome after himself, calling it Colonia Commodiana. He also renamed the months of the year after his various titles and declared that he was the reincarnation of the god Hercules. These actions were seen as signs of megalomania and further eroded his support among the Roman aristocracy. Mass executions. Commodus's reign was marked by paranoia and cruelty. He frequently purged the Senate, executing those he believed were plotting against him. In one infamous incident, he killed 100 lions in the arena to demonstrate his power, and he ordered the execution of a man simply because he was an expert on an ancient lion hunting technique that Commodus wanted to claim as his own. His death. By the end of his reign, Commodus's madness had become unbearable to those around him. His own inner circle, including his mistress Marcia, his chamberlain, and the Praetorian prefect, conspired to assassinate him. Commodus was first poisoned, but when the poison failed to kill him, a wrestler named Narcissus was brought in to strangle him to death. Commodus's death marked the end of the Nerva-Antonine dynasty, leading to the Year of the Five Emperors. Third, Caligula, 12 AD, 41 AD. Finally, we confront the horrors of Caligula. Let's look at his upbringing and early life. Born Gaius Julius Caesar, Augustus Germanicus, on August 31st, 12 AD, was the third son of Germanicus, a beloved Roman general, and Agrippina the Elder, the granddaughter of Emperor Augustus. As a child, Caligula accompanied his parents on military campaigns, where he earned the nickname Caligula, meaning little boot, because of the miniature soldier's uniform he wore. His early life was marked by the death of his father, possibly by poisoning, and the subsequent political purges that claimed the lives of his mother and two brothers. Caligula was taken in by his great-uncle, Emperor Tiberius, who brought him to the island of Capri. Here, Caligula was exposed to the dark side of Roman politics, witnessing Tiberius's cruel and debauched behavior. When Tiberius died in 37 AD, Caligula ascended to the throne at the age of 24. Initially, his rule was welcomed by the Roman populace, who saw him as a breath of fresh air after the oppressive rule of Tiberius. However, this honeymoon period was short-lived. Acts of cruelty and craziness. Declaring himself a god. One of Caligula's most infamous acts was his declaration that he was a living god. He demanded that statues of himself be erected in temples across the empire, and he expected to be worshipped alongside the traditional Roman deities. His megalomania reached a peak when he ordered the construction of a bridge made of boats across the Bay of Baiae so that he could ride across dressed as a god. Cruelty and torture. Caligula's reign was marked by extreme cruelty. He enjoyed watching torture and executions, often reveling in the pain and suffering of others. He once forced a father to attend the execution of his own son, and he was known to delight in humiliating and terrorizing the Senate. His reign became increasingly erratic and despotic, leading to widespread fear and resentment. Making his horse a consul. Caligula's insanity extended to his treatment of his beloved horse, Incitatus. He lavished the animal with a marble stall, an ivory manger, purple blankets, and even a house with servants. According to legend, Caligula planned to make Incitatus a consul, the highest elected political office in the Roman Republic, to mock the Senate and demonstrate his absolute power over them. His death. Caligula's behavior eventually led to his downfall. His increasing insanity and cruelty alienated the Praetorian Guard, the Senate, and even his own family. On January 24, 41 AD, a group of conspirators within the Praetorian Guard, led by Cassius Chaerea, assassinated Caligula in a plot to restore order to Rome. He was stabbed multiple times, and his body was dumped into a shallow grave. After his assassination, the conspirators also killed his wife and daughter to eliminate any potential heirs. Caligula's death marked the end of the Julio-Claudian line's dominance, though the empire would soon see the rise of his uncle, Claudius, as emperor. These detailed accounts of Nero, Commodus, and Caligula not only highlight their brutal and deranged actions, but also provide insight into how their troubled upbringings and unchecked power contributed to their eventual downfall. Their stories serve as chilling reminders of the dangers of absolute power and the dark depths of human nature. And a dishonorable mention goes to Emperor Elagabalus, a young emperor who rose to power at just 14 years old. He was known as the ultimate party animal. This guy was so dedicated to hedonism, he turned the Roman palace into one giant rave cave. I mean, who needs administrative tasks when you can just have an endless supply of wine and orgies? He was also a big fan of unusual fashion choices, let's say. He loved to wear elaborate makeup, wigs, and even fake beards. Because why not, right? But it was his religious practices that really set him apart. He was a devout follower of the Syrian sun god and would often perform bizarre rituals, including sacrificing animals and engaging in ritual sex acts. His behavior and policies, including his disregard for Roman religious traditions and his unconventional personal life, made him highly unpopular among the Roman elite. This unpopularity eventually led to his assassination in 222 CE, orchestrated by members of the Praetorian Guard and his own grandmother.